hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Perita Rebellion, the guilty. And how do you actually fight it? Well, I'm using Inaros, as you can see. At first, you gotta use his third skill to get the armor, and then you gotta charge your Burstone first here, but you're not using Burstone here. What you're going to use is your melee, your Garuda. And this part, this is a little bit longer part, well, other than the last part. Well, if you see Ash, you gotta focus on Ash because he can break you, he can really kill you. So at first you gotta focus on killing him. Oh yeah, like that. Look at the Scarab armor. Yeah, the Scarab shell is gonna go break. He's the only Warframe here that could kill you, so you gotta be careful about that. Now here, at this part, you will have your ult, so you gotta use your ult here. Yep, so that you could easily skip this part, the gank part, and then you will come back with solo again. Usually, I'm just fighting Trinity first. But if I see Ashe, I'm always prioritizing Ashe first, because as you can see, he could easily kill me. And I will explain later the build. Yeah, this build is just really chill. You can just stand and keep punching the enemies. Haha. Yeah, at this part also, you can skip this by using your ult. But for the last part, since all of them are gonna spawn together, you just have to wait. Wait, I'm being magnetized. You have to wait for it to get full again. Right now I am waiting for it to go full. Well, sometimes you have to do rolling guard when you are charging your Scarab shell, so that you're not gonna get too much damage. But actually, when Arcane Grace procs, you're pretty much immortal. Plus you're using your melee. Alright, now we have our ult. Yeah, I'm just applying corrosive and viral. I'm using Compressa to prime them so that they're just gonna be die quickly when my ult is available. Where are they? There's one mid. Okay, Ash is the one who is left. Yeah, this is gonna be easy. You don't have to worry about your health, your shield. Well, at first when I did this, I was using shield gating. Yeah, for this part, this is the easiest part, but you have to wait for your ult. So at this part, you can just chill. You can actually kind of use your Burstone, but this is not the part we're going to use your Burstone. You can just forget about your Burstone. All you have to do here is just to wait for your ult to make this much faster, because at this part, you need to kill them, both of them together, as fast as possible. Alright, now here, as you can see, I have the ult. First, you gotta apply corrosive and viral, and then switch to operator. Use your Madurai ult. Yep, I'm using Madurai exclusively here. And then all you gotta do is just to maintain the viral and corrosive, and they will be dead together. Now for the last part, this is the part where you're going to use your Burstone. Only this time. Well, this is the easiest. It's not the fastest, but the easiest. The second part is still the easiest. Well, for this part, you gotta wait for the black thing. Yeah, this one, so that you're gonna get the void buff, so that your damage to this is gonna be so much better. Now you gotta wait for it to be spawned, or if you find one, you can just go back there and then have the buff. But of course, you gotta break the weak point first, which is I forgot to do. Yep. And then now, while waiting for the dark part, you can just use your ult, since you can just use it. Yep, your operator is not gonna do anything here anyway much, especially the ult. You're mostly waiting for the black thing, which is, it takes some time. When he fly like that. Yes, it's because without void your damage is very bad. So all you gotta do is just wait for it. As you can see, I'm not really worrying about my HP because of the Arcane Grace and just triple Umbra. Yeah, I'm just mainly using triple Umbra here. Now this part is the most boring. Well, I heard in co-op this can be pretty interesting, but I'm mainly just using this solo. Yep, if you saw these 4 balls here, just go break it. It's because of this laser. Yeah, this laser, you can avoid your own laser, but the laser that was targeting your squad member can hit you. I think that's the part where this part is pretty interesting. But if you're solo, it's just a bullet hell type of playstyle that is boring. Yeah, this part is my least favorite. It takes some time and it is just doing the same thing over and over. There's nothing special here. Also, I'm using Larkspur here, modded with Hit and Viral. I'm using the Prime Venomous mod here to further increase the raw damage, since we cannot ramp up the hit status more than 4. Yeah, just go keep shooting it to the head and just move a little bit. You don't need to move too much. Now the bolt is gonna be the end. Yes, it's because if you hit all of the balls, the boss is gonna take some damage, around 10%, I believe. That's my rough estimation. Yeah, you gotta be careful though. You gotta be careful because sometimes you're getting hit, you're forgetting about your shield, and then when your shield broke, you're gonna be screwed. Oh, there's a little bit of HP. Yeah, now it is dead. Yeah, this part is the most boring. This is my least favorite. Yeah, that's it. That's just how you do the guilty with Inaros. Actually, this video is more on a propaganda for you to use Inaros. Yeah, you can use other health tanking Warframe. It's just I find Inaros the comfiest. I mean, I just find him the comfiest because he has a huge amount of HP. Now I'm just gonna show you the build. Well, for the build, I'm using double Emerald Shard so that the stacks of corrosive is gonna go higher. As you can see, I could stack up to 8 stacks of corrosive against the enemies. If you don't have this, you can only stack it up to 4. Well, it still helps, even though I'm not really sure if it is actually helping because you cannot armor strip the enemies there, even using Shattered Impact. But I feel like it is working, so I'm still using this. But as you can see, this is just my default Inaros build. Yeah, I have this 3 armor here. You can just put whatever you want, maybe just more HP, but I just put armor. Anyway, for the build, for the Arcane, I'm using Arcane Grace so that I have this passive health regeneration. It's just like my passive shield gating. Yeah. And Arcane Strike, I'm using Arcane Strike here. It's because I'm using Koda Hirudo to be exact. It's pretty slow, so I wanted more attack speed. Now, Steel Charge. For Aura, you can put whatever you want actually. But since, as you can see, I'm running out of slot here or capacity, Steel Charge is the best one to slot here. Also, it helps with the melee part of the game or of the mission. And then I'm just using triple Umbra. This is just my default Inaros build, just low. I didn't actually change much here. I'm still using negation armor, though since Arcane Persistence exists, I just replaced this with a different one, the Desiccation. But for this specific mission, I use the negation armor, and then I just ditched the Persistence because Persistence can be useless there. It's because of the Magnetize. But even without Persistence, I was fine. As you can see, I can just slug it from start to end of the first part. And then yeah, Adaptation still helps a bit there. And Hunter Adrenaline, you can just remove it. You're not actually using your skills anyway. Most of the skills that, or the only skill that you're mostly gonna use is just Scarab Shell. You're just maintaining this. And for this, I'm just using a Vigilante Pursuit. This is more on for the Burston part. It's just small, just 10% chance to enhance critical hits, but it still helps. So I just put it here. You can just put whatever you like here. But like I said, it still helps. And then for the Burston, wait, let me just show you the perks first. Yeah, just the perks. I'm using this multi-shot one. You can use this for punch-through, but it's not necessary there. And then recoil, I just like to negate recoil to get 0% as much as possible. That's why I'm using recoil, just such as default. Then critical chance, they have more critical chance. That's it. And then for the build, as you can see, I have Riven, but I'm not using Riven, just to show you that you don't need Riven to have a strong build. Also for that specific mission, you don't need to use Galvanized Aptitude. It's nice to have as much Pro as possible. As you can see, even without Aptitude, it's because of the spawn of enemies there also is just almost non-existent. Well, they do spawn in second part, but in the second part, as you can see, you can just skip it easily. You can just kill them quickly. Now for the Arcane, I'm using Primary Bulwark. I'm using Inaros. I could easily get more than 1000 armor, and I could easily get more than 1000, so I could easily reach 500% bonus damage. This is just huge there. And as I said, just stack as much raw damage as possible. This is why I'm using the Prime Cryo rounds. And then, though for this one, instead of using the Infected Clip, I'm using Malignant Force, because this is what I could only slap. Also, just a little bit of status chance help there. And yeah, Stabilizer for recoil. And I'm using Primary Acuity here, so that I could easily kill the enemy. Multi-shot versus Acuity, for the super bosses like that, Primary Acuity is always superior. And then yeah, Scope just to add more critical chance. I'm only getting the first part though for the headshot, but the rest I'm not getting it. But still, it still helps. You can use the non-galvanized of this, which is I don't have, that's why I'm just using it. And then Vital Sense, just critical damage. And then Serration for more raw damage. Vigilante Vigor, this is just to enhance the critical chance with a passive. Also just a little bit of fire rate, it still helps. Then Critical Delay for more critical chance. Yeah, you don't need Riven, as you can see. And for Compressa, this is just my default Compressa build. Cold, Corrosive, Viral, Magnetic, and Radiation. And yeah, just a little bit of Ogre just to increase the duration. Also, this is just for example, if you're using Catalyzing Shield, but I'm not using Catalyzing Shield. But having status duration in that part actually helps, especially if you use the Compressor to prime the enemies and then use the ult. It takes some time to cast it, so that the status is still there. It's much easier to maintain. Yeah, it's nothing special here. Secondary Fortifier, you can just remove this. Actually, you can just, since there's no overguarded enemy there, you can just use Encumber here, which is, like I said, I just didn't bother change much here. This is mostly for just applying Corrosive and Viral. You can put whatever you want here, but I find Encumber to be the best here, which is I didn't find it very important to put, but it can help. And then Coda Hirudo. So here I'm using Melee Duplicate. I'm not using Melee Exposure. It's because you needed some maintenance there to keep casting your skill. You can still use it. I tried it, but Melee Duplicate is much easier to maintain. And then add as much raw as you can. Yeah, Killing Blow for the Tanokai, Prime Pressure, and then I'm using 2 attack speed here because, like I said, Kurudo is pretty slow. This is a slow melee. That's why I'm putting more. And then I'm putting more attack speed. And then just Organ Shatter and Gladiator Might for more critical damage. Galvanized Steel. And of course, Condition Overload. Very important. If you don't know what is Condition Overload, then you gotta search Condition Overload mechanic. It's very useful to know. And then here, well, I just didn't change my build here. This is more on the mods that I put here. It's more on to increase my amp damage. Yeah, this is just my level cap Void Cascade build. I just didn't bother changing it. Even the Arcane, you can just put whatever you want here. There should be a better one, but as you can see, I just didn't bother. I just didn't bother using it or caring about this. So you can just put whatever you want here. All you have to do is just to use the... Oh, that's it. For the companion, since I'm using Deriga, this is mostly about Arc Coil. Arc Coil is just Medire. Medire is just very minor here. Arc Coil is just for priming. Sacrifice, kinda it helps for other Warframes. But as you can see, I just didn't bother using it. And then Guardian also for the shield gating build Warframes. And Prime Legend is just to lower the recovery time. Yeah, nothing much special here with the build. And I'm using Artax because I'm not using Tenacious Bond, but I'm still gonna show you the build anyway. Yeah, this is just hit, magnetic, viral, and radiation. Nothing special, just that. Though there's a bug there, sometimes your companion is disappearing for some reason. I don't exactly know what is triggering it, but if you see it triggering like that, you can just restart the mission. I actually don't remember if my companion disappeared with my previous run. I'll just go check it. Anyway, so that's it. If you like this, I have something more for you.